Hi guys, and welcome back. So you may have seen the video we did a couple of days ago just dynoing the M2 competition and comparing it against the older M2 and against the M4 competition to show you the difference in the power graphs and how they're delivered. Today I've got the chance to drive the M2 competition. The video is not going to be as long as I want it to be because I'm really busy prepping for SEMA, and we've only got Max's car for MMR Performance for a little while. So I'm hoping to do a slightly longer video at some point and with some more exterior visuals, but this is just going to be me basically driving the car and giving you my initial impressions of it. So let's start the car and get going. First off, the interior of the car is quite different. It's got M4 seats now. It's got the competition pack style seat belts, which our M3 competition pack has also, but the actual shape of the dash has changed quite a bit as well, and the dials are different to the M2 that we have. The M2 we have is more analog. These are slightly more digital looking, but they still look quite cool. So let's get going. So first off, let me just say that this car does have aftermarket suspension already. So Max has fitted a set of Bilstein Clubsports to the car. On our car we do have Bilstein B16, which is more kind of road orientated, so I'll still be able to get a good impression of what the car's like. It's slightly damp as well today, so I'll take it a bit easy. As I'm not planning on buying an M2 competition just yet, I may do in the future. If anyone has one, like a dealer or anything that's willing to let me do a slightly extended test drive in it, that would be helpful. Okay, I'm quite familiar with the seats because I had a non-competition pack M3 previously, and that had the same seats as this. I think they copped out a little bit. They could have put the competition seats in it like how M3 does, because I find them a bit more supportive than the standard M4 ones. I mean, the car feels very familiar to me, having one myself. Obviously you notice that the wing mirrors have been changed as well. That was a big gripe from everyone when the M2 came out. Oh my god, it doesn't have an S engine, it doesn't have M mirrors, it's not a real M. It is a real M. The 1M didn't have an M engine either, but that was still classed as a real M car. For me, a real M car is not just about the engine, it's about the suspension, and the M2 with the N55 does have proper M suspension and differential. So that's the thing about M cars, it's the way they handle, not their straight line speed, which is what a lot of people get hung up on. Just put it into sport. So yeah, the other difference obviously here is that you have some driving modes now and M buttons on the steering wheel, so it's even more of an M car. So the original M2 didn't have the M buttons on the steering wheel to select the different driving modes, but the only thing that's missing from this is the fact that it doesn't have electronic damping, so that button's blanked off, but it has the adjustments for the steering feel and the throttle response as well. Yeah, I mean, compared to a standard one, you can feel on part throttle, when you get to about 3000 RPM, it's got a bit more torque. But knowing what an S55 is like in the M3 competition, I can feel that this is basically restricted a lot. It wants to go, but it's just being held back. These Bilstein Clubsports aren't too bad. Thought they'd be a lot stiffer than this. The other thing initially I can tell is the steering does feels a bit more direct. I haven't played around with the coding on my car yet to see if we can put the GTS steering into the software, but what's that on? That was on comfort. yeah, it just feels like it's slightly sharper. Now the other thing people are complaining about is the sound of the engine. The N55 does sound really good. It's probably one of the better sounding turbocharged engines out there, and the S55 not so much. It takes a lot to get the car to actually sound acceptable. I mean, in stock format, it sounds pretty good. I think the issue comes when you try to put an exhaust on the car, and you have to get that right to get the sound good. So in sport mode, this does have some sort of overrun burbles like the M4 competition does. There you go. Which the N55 does as well, but I think on the N55, to me, it sounds slightly better. I mean, initially, it feels very similar to me. I can't. It's a difference, but it's not a huge difference. I mean, on the dyno, it's about 30 horsepower difference and about 40 foot-pound of torque, stock to stock. But I mean, most of the M2s I drive are mildly tuned, so they're making the same kind of power. This is as standard. So on that front, it's not hugely different. I think that what people are going to be interested in is, if you've got an M2 N55 already, is it worth the money to change up to one of these? Initially, I'd probably say no. If you have it and you want the latest and greatest, that's fine, but otherwise you don't really need to. But as a new car and the price difference, I think this is actually very good value, considering you are getting the S55 engine in there, and if you are wanting to take the engine further, the potential is absolutely massive. Ultimately, I think BMW could have done more with this car to make it even more special. They have a habit of releasing something and then making it into what it should have been at the beginning, rather than making it what it should have been, you know, what everyone was expecting at the beginning. So I think this is not the last iteration we've seen of this car. I still believe that we'll see a CS version and ultimately a CSL version as well, which will then hopefully have the carbon roof from the factory, which everyone was hoping for. At the moment, if you want a carbon roof, you have to go aftermarket. Even though BMW have the M Performance roof, you have to have that as a dealer fit. It's not a factory fit, which is putting a lot of people off, because essentially you have to take your new car to the dealer and have them strip out your interior, take your front and rear glass out, and bond the roof in. I'm not sure how many dealers actually have the expertise or the knowledge to do that. So this is a stretch of road that we normally test the cars on. As I said before, it feels just very familiar to me. It's not a huge change from the normal M2. Stock to stock, yeah, it's got more power. You can feel the urgency, you can feel the extra torque in the mid-range. I would say initially the steering does feel slightly better. I'm not sure whether that's down to coding or something else at the moment. I mean, stock, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound bad because you can't really hear it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when you put a different exhaust on it. The other thing I'll say about the exhaust is, from the rear of the car, it looks quite ugly because a large proportion of it is sitting underneath the bumper. So you can see a lot of it, and they put these weird notches in it as well. I mean, obviously the floor pan's a bit different on this, so maybe they didn't have the room to hide it, but it just looks a bit awkward to me. Styling wise, the front of this car, I do like it. Yes, the kidney grills are conjoined, but they're not as conjoined as some of the other designs BMW are coming out with, and I think the front bumper's slightly more aggressive, and it's got the styling cues from the Vision GT with those 3 notches on the 2 sides and in the middle, which I quite like. Yes, again, it's very well balanced, very short-footed, just like the original one. But as we know, the main difference on this car is the engine, and yes, if you're comparing performance, as we've seen from the dyno graph, stock to stock, it is definitely an upgrade. But it'll be interesting to see what BMW do with the so-called CS model looks like they've been testing, and they did say they're going to do CS and CSL in every M car. It'd be interesting to see if they actually give that a little bit more power, because I think this with M3 CS power around sort of 460, 470 with around like just close to 500 foot-pound of torque, I think that'd actually be a really well balanced package. And as I said, I mean, you probably can get these to 550 horsepower with like stage 2 tune, but how much power does this car take before you start spoiling the balanced nature of it? I guess we'll find out soon. Coming back to the looks of the car, I'm not a massive fan of the wheels they've put on this car. I'll be interested to see the weights of them as well compared to the original M2. I think those wheels suit the car perfectly, and they're 19-inch forged, so they're actually very, very light. It's like you have to be really careful with aftermarket wheel to be lighter than the stock ones. In fact, I think if you go for a cast or flow form, it won't be as light as a stock wheel. But I'm not sure what BMW are doing with the design of the new wheels. It's like they used to have the designs of the wheels spot on, and like with the 666 wheel and this wheel and some of the other ones they're coming out with, I'm not such a massive fan, whereas before it'd be like, oh, that wheel's perfect for the car. Yeah, it's a lot more of the same. It's like the original M2, just a little bit better. It's a little bit more power. Feel wise, it's the same. The seats, I can't really tell if they're that much more supportive than the original M2, because I'm used to the buckets in my M2, and then in the M3 we have the competition pack seats, which I know, having spent a lot of time in them, are much more supportive than the normal M seats that are in this car. But I think BMW are basically holding back, and they're going to release another 1 or 2 models, and then they will end up with what should have been the perfect spec on the M2, which is a bit cheeky, but hey, it's business. Thank you for watching, guys. If you want to watch more of our videos, you can watch them over here. If you want to watch what YouTube suggests that you might like from our videos, you can watch them over here. As always, if you haven't already, please like our video and subscribe to our channel. If you've got any questions for us, please drop them in the comments below, and we will do our best to answer them for you.